All right, 2, 11, 18. All right, stop talking. Even more trig. Because we did more trig on Wednesday. And on Tuesday we did trig. So we did trig, and then we did more trig, and now we're doing even more trig.
I like it.
Thank you. And if you remember Chief Sokotoa, who was a trig master. Quit talking. Okay. Last week you solved triangles. And in most of the cases, you're given 2 side lengths. And you wrote a ratio to find one of the acute angle measures in a right triangle. Subtracted that from 90 to find the other acute angle. And then you did the Pythagorean theorem to find the third side. Today, you're going to be working with right triangles again. But you're going to be given one angle and one side. One acute angle. So let's say you've got a right triangle here, ABC. And one of the acute angles is 50. Let's make it 40. So it's not a special right triangle, is it?
No.
All right. And let's say you're given one of the sides. Side AB is 10. You're going to be solving the triangles. So, in this case, you can solve for the hypotenuse, AC, or you can solve for side BC first. It's your choice. So I'm going to solve the hypotenuse first. Solve for the hypotenuse. And I don't know if it's easier for you to label the sides A, B, and C, or just call the hypotenuse, in this case, side BC. It's up to you. But here's how this works. You're given a 40-degree angle, and you're given a side that is 10. And that side is opposite the 40, isn't it? So you're going to be dealing with a ratio that deals with opposite. Since I'm looking for the hypotenuse, I'm working with opposite and hypotenuse, which is a sine ratio. So the formula, or the equation I'm going to write, is that the sine of 40 is equal to opposite, which is 10, over hypotenuse, which in this case is our side C. So when you've got a variable in the denominator, the first thing you want to do is multiply both sides by that denominator. And that clears the right side. So now you've got C times the sine of 40 equals 10. And if C times the sine of 40 equals 10, you can divide both sides by sine 40. The sine 40s on the left cancel, and your side C is equal to, in your calculator, it's 10 divided by, depending on which calculator you got, sine 40 or 40 sine. And it's a 15.557. We're going to continue to do sides to the nearest tenth and angles to the nearest whole number. So this side C is, we're going to use 15.6. No, you don't use second, because it's 10 divided by sine 40. So if you're using those TI 30XAs, it's 10 divided by 40 sine. And push the equals button. That pink calculator's a little different, isn't it? Excuse me? Probably because you didn't push equals. You have to push equals. Otherwise, the number you see on your screen is going to be the sine of 40. Now, you've got one of the sides. You've got two sides in this right triangle. So, if you're a Pythagorean theorem person, that you like the Pythagorean theorem, you can do the Pythagorean theorem to solve for the third side. If you're a trig person, you can just write another trig ratio. Because if you're dealing with this 40-degree angle and you're going to use the opposite side, this 10, well, isn't side B adjacent? So wouldn't tan of 40 be equal to opposite over adjacent? And it's probably going to end up being faster than the Pythagorean theorem. So if you multiply both sides by b, you're going to divide by tan 40. And your b is going to be equal to 10 divided by tan 40. 11.9? Very good. 11.9. So this third side is 11.9. Everybody getting those numbers? Okay, everybody understanding how to set up the ratio and solve it? All right, look. When you're using trig ratios to find this third side, if you were given the 40 and you were given this 10, it's a whole number. You use the 10 to find the 15.6, right? Do you remember how we rounded the 15.6? Don't use the 15.6 to find the third side, because it's not an exact, is it? Use the 10. That was a given. It's a whole number. It's an exact length. Okay? Does everybody understand that? So angle A would be equal to, what's angle A? 50 degrees. 50 degrees. So let's try another one. Having fun now. Cooking with peanut oil. That's what the guy says on Duck Dynasty. What's your favorite number, Brandon?
10.
10. Alright, so we'll say this is 10 degrees. We're going to solve this triangle. Check that. Erase that 4. Let's make this 14. You got your acronym. You got a 10-degree angle and you have its adjacent side. So you can solve for the opposite side or you can solve for the hypotenuse. I'm going to do the opposite side. So let's see, opposite and adjacent, that's tangent. Tan 10 equals the opposite side, which is side xy, over 14. Now your variable's in the numerator. This is even easier. If you multiply both sides by 14, you're done. Because the 14's on the right cancel. So 14 times tan 10 do you get 2.46? 2.469 equals your xy. So that's 2.5, right? So this opposite side's 2.5.
I didn't get that.
Did you do 14 times tan 10 equals? Did anybody else get that? Or did I? Okay. It's not second tan, it's tan 10. Or in your case, 10 tan. Okay. You're probably in radian mode.
So how do I get out of that?
Bill was saying, you do the tan.
All right, so now you've got your third side defined. So use the 14 again, and that would be, now if you're finding the hypotenuse, you need to use sine or cosine. You've got this adjacent side. So adjacent and hypotenuse is cosine. Cosine of 10 equals adjacent, which is 14, over the hypotenuse, which is yz. So you're going to multiply both sides by yz. They cancel on the right, and you end up dividing by cosine 10. Cosine 10s cancel, and side yz is equal to, that's 14 divided by cosine 10. And I got 14.216, which is 14.2. We're going to continue to do sides to the nearest tenth and angles to the nearest whole this week. All right, side y equals, or angle y equals 80. Anybody have any questions on even more trig? Who likes the ratios better than the Pythagorean theorem? Who likes the Pythagorean theorem better? Nice. Uncle Pythagoras would be proud. Very proud of you. Okay, your assignment for today is on page 574. Disregard the book instructions, and I want you to solve each triangle. You got problems 28 through 33. 28 through 33. Your directions are to solve the triangle. And again, angles to the nearest whole number. Sides to the nearest tenth. And let's just throw this one in there for fun. Number 47. Let's check that. Let's make that number 48. All right, clean piece of paper. Not on your notes. I haven't collected any homework in a while, so you probably ought to make sure you finish this assignment. It's a hint.